what cool project do we have today? $20 jack. Look at this. Here's a little 2-ton in comparison, or 1.5 ton, whatever those are. Look at this thing, 20 bucks. Just won't stay up. I'm sure we can fix it. Coats Nike. Who knows? Do not adjust. Uh-oh, that's scary. Today we're going to talk about floor jacks. We're going to rebuild them, show you why they work, how they work. So even if you don't have the exact model here, you can rebuild anyone. So let's go about it, and talk about that super secret do not adjust thing as well. If you understand how they work, you can fix any single one of them. Let's do it. Made in Sweden. Great jacks. This one is from the 60s, 70s era. And when you pump it up, either it won't pump up, or it leaks down, or it leaks out right around here. So bought a new seal kit. We'll just reseal it. Now if you're looking right here, you're like, wait a minute, is that just a bottle jack? Yes. All these floor jacks is a bottle jack laid on its side. And instead of having the little pump, the little piston that pumps up the jack on the side, on this particular one, it's down on the bottom. On the typical ones you see, it's just right at the very back, and your lever pumps it up and down. The release screw that you would screw to release your jack on this particular one is just right here, goes up through the handle. On the typical star that you're probably used to, it's just a star right here, and twisting the handle rotates the star and lets the fluid run back into the reservoir inside. See it? Bottle jack. There we go. And now we have our super overcomplicated bottle jack. That's attached in there with a roll pin. That is our pumping piston. So you can see the small diameter of that hole versus the 1.25" size of the piston out the other side. Okay, in case you don't know, here's a quick rundown of how a hydraulic jack works. You have a small piston right here. This is what the handle on your jack. You pump them down, moves this teeny little piston, and then this piston is your larger piston. This is actually what lifts up the vehicle. So this side is connected, if it's just a bottle jack, or if it's a jack like this, it's connected to a lever that lifts an arm that lifts the vehicle. So essentially, you move this, and if you see down here, you can't really see. That's 10 milliliters, I think. I don't know. And then there's 10, yeah, it's milliliters. There's 10 millimeters right down here. So you move this one entire stroke, and it moves this that much. So there's 150 milliliters to get it up to here. Essentially, I have to pump this thing 15 times and move that amount of fluid. The problem is, these are just directly connected, and weight's always pushing down on this one, so all it's going to actually do is push this open. So there's our problem, and now that's where we have check valves, check balls. So this is our piston up here. This is the passages inside the jack. Here's our pumping piston. All we do is we put a check ball right there, and to hold it there, we put a spring. So we have a check ball and spring. So this pushes pressure. It pushes the spring in, allows fluid to escape, goes up here, pushes this up, and then when this tries to push back, the spring is closing off the entrance. That's a hydraulic system. Easy as that. And then to relieve the pressure, there's going to be a bypass hole or something right here, and that is what unscrews. That's generally what you unscrew with the jack handle, and then that just bleeds off the fluid back into a reservoir that this can pick up again, and it just cycles non-stop. That's hydraulic system. All jacks like this, even bottle jacks, this is where you fill them. For the hydraulic system, oops. Okay, I want to take this huge nut off the top. I don't have a 2 7/8 socket, so I'm just going to make my own. Have a whole video on it. But essentially, got some nice thick wall pipe here. It's about the right size. And we formed it to a socket, and now we'll just weld this and then weld another socket so we can drive it with an impact. Let's see. did it. Didn't even have to use a big pipe wrench. Got it out just in case, but impacts are amazing. Want to watch a video on how to make these? I'll put the link at the end or down in the video description or something. Now this jack does have a special feature that you won't find on most floor jacks. So I'm kind of just going to breeze over it because you might not have to experience it. This has dual pistons inside. So essentially, there's a teenier piston inside, like a 1-ton jack, so it lifts faster. So it has a speed lift function. So there's a 1-ton jack inside this essentially 30-ton jack. And so it lifts, and then when it's too hard for that to pump, this little valve right here bypasses it, and then it just lifts the other jack regularly. So let's try to keep as much fluid in there as possible, drain it out. There we go. Our seal is ripped. Our little U-cup is ripped right there. There's our problem. Oh, it's damaged good. This outer area all the way around is your reservoir. This right here is the main piston. That's the main lifting piston. This little teeny thing on the inside, which you will not find on all jacks, is our speed lift. So it lifts with that first, and then when it gets too hard, so you can do 2 pumps and it almost goes up to the bottom of the vehicle. Then when it goes hard, it bypasses that with a spring and check ball right here, and then just uses the regular outside. Anyway, this whole outside cup should come off now. There we go. There we go. And so you can see it's just nothing. Just a cylinder. And then this is our main cylinder. We have a seal down here that can be replaced. I don't think they gave me a new one in kit, but it's not leaking, so that should be good. Okay, there's a little snap ring on the inside, and then this pulls out, and then we should have a U-cup behind it. A U-cup seal. See why it's called a U-cup? So the U always faces the pressure side, and these little lips push out the more pressure they are and seal tighter and tighter. A U-cup seal. Now if you have a jack that you can't find a rebuild kit for, you have to tear it apart and then you have to measure these. And generally you would measure the bore, so you would measure the, on this particular one, I would measure the outside bore, which is this larger hole right here inside. And then I would measure the size of this piston right there, which is roughly like 3/4 of an inch by 1 1/8 or something, and converted to metric. You can find them in metric. You get just as close as you possibly can, and you can see how snug they are. But you would just order seals that way. Okay. Same with this one down here. If you couldn't find seals, this is just another U-cup seal. You would wait, right here. It went just like this. You would measure. It fits over that lip. You would measure this step inside right here because it seals against this little inside step. And then you would measure the outside bore, which is this, which is, 2 inches or something right there. And you would order a U-cup seal that way to make sure there's no burrs. You nick it, take that off, and there's going to be a seal, which in this case just looks like an O-ring, right inside a little machine groove. And you just get in there, get behind it, pop it out, and that's it. I'm going to go about looking at my valve body now, and all of these. Okay, what is this right here? It says, do not adjust. You see this on virtually all these jacks, whether you got it from Harbor Freight, this is a Craftsman. This is the max load adjustment. So, the bottle jack is way more powerful than the lifting arm. This is set to 3 tons. So essentially what they do is they put a 3-ton load on here and adjust it so right at 3 tons it starts releasing. Because you could jack this up with the leverage of the handle. You could sit there and jack this to the point that you just bent the arms. And so this right here never lets the pressure get too high that the jack just explodes itself. The arms don't buckle in, etc. So that's why they don't want you touching this. But there's really no reason to ever touch this at all. If you have to, count the number of screws in and then screw it out the exact same, and then screw it all the way out. There'll be a spring and a check ball, and just make sure you put it right back to where it was. You really never have to touch that. This right here, there's a little flathead screw. You remove that. That is going to be your check ball that keeps pressure in the main piston. So if it keeps bleeding down, it could be one of your seals, but it could also be the check ball and spring in here. And there's not always a spring. Sometimes the check ball is just gravity, and that's probably how this one is. So gravity, the weight of the check ball, sometimes they stack 2 check balls for weight, one on top of the other, just to weigh the other one down. Just holds it down. So when you pump pressure in, it pumps from the bottom, pumps up, those check balls move out of the way for a second, fills up the piston, and then the check balls fall right back down. And gravity and the pressure from the main piston and the weight of the vehicle or whatever holds those check balls closed. That makes sense? Now let's look at the one where we're rebuilding. So this one's more commercial. It has a couple more little things. On the bottom we actually have an oil drain. You won't find that on most jacks. This actually drains the entire reservoir. Little hole and just right out here, so you can actually change your fluid. But on the top we have the, well, back here we have the piston that pumps, the smaller piston that pumps up the fluid through here. This is our release. This one right here is our safety do not touch thing. If I remove the cap, way down in there, there is a screw with a spring that's adjusted the pressure to exactly 3 tons on the lifting arm. You see those 2 little slots? And I don't know if you can see, the whole sidewall is threaded. And so that just threads down on a spring and a check ball. What this is lifting is probably 30 tons, like I said before. This right here is going to be our check balls. If I pull it out, I should get one. Should be 2 in there. Oh, maybe there's only 1. See, I don't know if somebody's been in here before. Maybe there's only 1. Let me look at the diagram. I thought there was 2. Maybe there's only 1. There's only 1. I was wrong. There's only 1 in there. Sometimes they put 2 just for added weight. There's only 1 supposed to be in there. So it's a good idea sometimes to have the diagram. And this right here is something you won't see on a jack unless you have the speed lift. This right here is a spring mechanism. I'll take it out. But essentially, it just, I don't know if you guys can see in there. Let me get a light. You see that in the middle of the small tube, you see that shiny little rod? That is that piece right there. And then you see, so that is the hole for the center. And it just switches to that hole at the very top of the bigger cylinder. So right at the corner of the light right there, goes from here up to there. That's how it switches from the small cylinder to the big cylinder. This big hole over on the right hand side right here is just your drain back. That just drains the fluid back into the reservoir right down here. This hole right here is just your fluid intake to the from the reservoir to the main piston. And there's your oil drain right there. The question is, do you replace the check balls? Look at them. If it is pitted, you know, if water sat in there, sometimes they'll get pits on them. Yes, replace it. But otherwise, do nothing. This does nothing. This just sits, you know, probably 1/8 of an inch from the ball. It just lets the ball move up about 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch. Fluid goes past and goes right back down. Does nothing but that. So that surface down there is your seat. And I guess that could get pitted. So if your surface is pitted down there and the ball, you get a new ball and you're worried about it not sealing, you can take the ball, take like the old one or something, or take the new one, get a couple of them, and set it down in there. And then generally you would grab something like if you got a second ball to use, you grab a punch, brass punch or something, set it down on there and just tap it lightly. You're reforming the surface down there. This is just cast iron surface. The ball is going to be hardened steel. But then if you didn't use like a brass punch or something on it, I would get rid of this ball. So if you used a steel punch on this ball, throw the ball away because you likely dented it or put a little dent around it or something, but you're just using the ball to form it. So just get a new one. This is my switching for my speed lift to the regular lift. So pull that out, I already pulled it out. It was leaking, and the reason it was leaking is because the O-ring that sits down right here is just a little bit brittle. So, not a big deal. We'll see if I can get the rest of the piston stuff out for you, just to show you. My hands are actually kind of dirty. Got that. We got a spring, we got a check ball. Teeny little check ball. Oh, we have double springs. Yeah, you want to be careful with this stuff because the spring rates and stuff. Oh no, it's just one spring. That's not a spring. I thought that was a spring. The spring rates and stuff of these is very particular to get stuff out of order. So we'll throw a magnet down there real fast. Yep, there it is. There's our check ball. And is there a second check ball? I think there's a second check ball in here. Yep, so a small check ball goes on the bottom. And that should be it. So if you dump these things and you don't have a diagram, you can get stuff mixed up. What I'm saying. Okay, rebuilding. Just putting everything back how it was for a second. I cleaned everything out with, I use carburetor cleaner. Quarter the price of brake cleaner. I think it works better. But brake cleaner, carburetor cleaner, soak it in acetone, whatever you want. You can pretty much, gasoline is excellent as well. And then I used the air compressor and blew it out and blew everything out and continued to sit there and try to blow any debris out. I found parts of my U-cup seal that had broken, so I think I got all the debris out of there. I don't seem to be missing anything. There should be really no metal or anything in here. Now it's just a matter of putting in new O-rings. This is what a kit usually looks like. This is 50 bucks. Not generally super cheap, but what I'll get is, so I have a bunch of O-rings, but O-rings are O-rings. Those are pretty much worthless, you know. That's not why you buy the kit. You buy these. This is a U-cup, and this one actually has a number on it. So it actually even says 40, 50 by 10, so it's 40, probably 40 millimeters inside, 50 millimeters outside, and 10 millimeters tall. So I needed a new O-ring in here to replace this dry cracked one, so I'll just drop that down in. This I just kind of blew out. There's just a spring and check ball in here. Again, this is for the two-stage thing that you won't probably have on your jack, so no, not a big deal. And then we will get, this is our main check ball right here. I'll just drop that down, and then this is just a rod to keep it from going up too far. There's no spring. This relies just on gravity. They got two O-rings this size. They seem a little bit small, but this one, the O-ring I'm replacing is just all flattened out, so I think it should be fine. It fits down in there, fits on there. This is kind of a tapered cup. We'll see. If it leaks, I'll just put a bigger O-ring in there. Not a big deal. This U-cup went like this. This one goes like this. The U shape goes towards the pressure. So pressure builds up in there, and that's the way it goes. These U-cups, when you're installing them, sometimes on hydraulic cylinders, they're super flexible. You'll actually bend them into this W, form, and with a special tool to get them in some things. Where's the hammer? And then the pressure will finish this off for me and push this whole piston back. There we go. So it just sits in that groove, and then this metal pulls back like that, and the U-cup will pull back as well. So it's fine. Now the this seal right here, easy enough. There we go. I know you guys can't see with my gloved fingers in the way. There we go. This is just automatic transmission fluid. An automatic transmission is essentially just a hydraulic pump and motor. It's all hydraulics. You want to watch the lip and make sure it folds in. This jack, if you saw the paint, virtually has no use on it. This is a 40-year-old jack, and the paint's fantastic. I think this jack was damaged from the factory, and this U-cup right here that's shattered on one side, I think one lip was folded over. I'm going to be super careful and just get that lip in there. There we go. It went in. It doesn't take much, and you can really mess it up. Now we're to the inside U-cup. There we go. Oh, and I gotta take this back off, because I gotta put my reservoir on. I'll slide that down. Put our outside seal. This was not leaking, so we're not replacing that. And then we'll put this at the top for filling. Okay, this is my main pump piston, and let's see if I can get this off without destroying it. There's actually nothing wrong with this. And easier said than done. These new ones seem so hard. I'm going to warm it up a little bit. In my hand, so I know what the temperature is. There we go. As soon as I turned off the camera, snapped right on. There it goes. Let's see. So that screws in. And then this nut screws in as well. Grand Central, 69 cents. It's wanting to. There it goes. I just moved a fraction of an inch. There you go. That's probably good enough to get that pin in for me. Heavy. I'll tell you that. This is a heavy jack. Okay, let's put a little weight on it and let it sit overnight. That's probably at least 1,000 pounds. 17 3/8. Okay, sat overnight. Still looks lifted up. Let's see. What was it? Put a mark on the back. 17 3/8. 17 3/8. Still right there. And I don't see a puddle, so we're good. See if it'll lift up the entire front end, which is going to be probably close to 3,000 pounds. It's an impressive jack. I think it lifts like 25 inches, where most only lift like 18, 19, something like that. Yeah? Does everybody want to know about your hurt paw? We were running it at 1,000,000 miles an hour and hurt ourselves. Yeah? Yeah, we're babying it a lot today. Let's slow down. Massage it at the elbow, the shoulder. We don't know when to stop, do we? Okay, go sit down in the chair and rest. You want to see the jack? Let's see this. You don't have to get up there.